Let's talk about League One then. This is set to be the most competitive league out of any of England's top six divisions. It's so hard to predict. It's going to be so good. There's no real standout side that I think is going to run away with the title, just like there's no teams that I think are going to get left behind at the bottom. So let's run through the teams. As I've done with my previous two predictions, I'm going to go through them in alphabetical order. So that means we're going to start with AFC Wimbledon. And I've seen a lot of predictions that had Wimbledon going straight back down. Initially, I thought that isn't going to be the case. But then you look at the league and how competitive is it? Are they going to be able to cope with the step up? Wimbledon were brilliant against Notts County. They defended so well in the playoffs, and then they did the same against Walsall. I wasn't at that game, but a lot of people said it was dull, but that kind of played into Wimbledon's hands, really. I do think they are going to struggle in this league. I think in a normal season they stay up, but not this season. So I've put Wimbledon in 21st, and unfortunately that they are going down. So then Barnsley. So Barnsley had an underwhelming season, finishing 12th last season. They're a sort of team that should really be pushing for the League One playoffs. I haven't really seen a lot of transfer news around Barnsley, so again with the standard being so strong, I can't see them improving much. I've got them one position higher, so I've got Barnsley in 11th place, and then Blackpool, very similar to Barnsley. Again, they finished in ninth last season, and I don't think they're going to mount much of a playoff push this season. I've actually got them down a place, so I've got them dropping into 10th. Neither of those will be anywhere near that relegation zone, though. And then this moves us to Bolton Wanderers, who I think are the first serious contenders here. They've been close the last couple of seasons. They narrowly missed out on the playoffs last season, and the year before they lost in the playoff final to Oxford. They weren't able to emulate that success of reaching the playoff final this season. I think, like I've said a couple of times already, the standard is a lot higher in this league this season. But I still think Bolton will be in the playoffs. Whether they win the playoffs, not sure. I've put Bolton in sixth. So Bradford City probably going to be the strongest of the newly promoted sides from League Two. I think they're a very ambitious club, and they should be, because they're a massive club that shouldn't really have been stuck in League Two for as long as they were. So they're finally out of it now. I think they are going to be the strongest of the four promoted sides, but I still don't think they're going to make it into the top half. I've got them heading up the bottom half. I've got Bradford City in 13th, but comfortably safe. That brings us to Burton Albion. So they mounted a very late, impressive run of form last season, which took them from looking completely out of it to actually staying up at the expense of Bristol Rovers. I think they're going to need to step it up a lot this season, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to cope with the standard of teams in this division. They'll fight for it, as we know they will fight for it, but I've got Burton just below Wimbledon. I've got Burton in 22nd and going down. So Cardiff City, the first of the relegated sides from the Championship. When they went down initially, I said Cardiff are a massive club for League One, which they are, and they'll bounce straight back. But looking at the league, I think Cardiff City might get a shock. And I don't mean they're gonna drop down. I don't think any of the Championship sides from last season are gonna drop down. I just don't think Cardiff are gonna be in the playoff places. So I've got them just outside the playoff places. I've got them in seventh. Could finish in the top two. Don't know. I think they're the least likely of the relegated teams to bounce straight back. So we come to our third promoted side, Doncaster Rovers, the League Two, sorry, champions. I think they are going to struggle in this league. They might prove me wrong, but you just look at the sides in around the bottom, and like I say, there aren't any teams that stand out as particularly weak. I think even Burton will make a good fight of it, and arguably the smallest side in that league. I think Doncaster will stay up, but I think it's going to be one hell of a fight. And I've got Doncaster in 20th, just above Wimbledon, and that will go to the final day. And I expect lots of changes on the final day. So, moving on from Doncaster, we have Exeter City, and if you've been following my matchday vlogs, you'll know that I've got a bit of affection for Exeter City. I followed them in the FA Cup. I went to 4 rounds. I went down to St James's Park 4 times, and they treated me so well. They are a fantastic club. And while they were having their FA Cup run, the form in the league dropped off, and they plummeted down the league. Not far enough to be involved in a relegation battle, but they were left needing to pick up a few wins with not much of the season remaining. I would like to put Exeter higher up in the table, and I don't think Exeter will go down. I think they are going to be in for a lot more of a fight this season than they were last season, again because of the standard increase. But I just think that club is so well run that they will find a way to stay in this division. So I've put Exeter City 19th, so just above Doncaster, and that is too close for comfort. And I do apologise putting Exeter City there, but you'll stay up. Don't worry, you'll stay up. So we go from the lower end of the table, we move to what I believe will be the top end of the table, and we've got Huddersfield Town. Now, they seem to be flying with new signings. They seem to be throwing money around after an underwhelming season, left them finishing 10th, after they were a lot of people's picks to go straight back up to the Championship. I think Huddersfield will go up this season, but I don't think they'll be in the top 2. They will improve a lot this season. I've got Huddersfield in 3rd and winning the playoffs. I think they are going to be one of the stronger sides this year. So Huddersfield in the playoffs, Huddersfield playoff winners. And then that brings us to Leyton Orient. So Orient were mid-table for the majority of the season, and they put together an outstanding run which drove them into the playoffs. And then they found themselves in the playoff final, and they were unlucky to lose to the eventual playoff winners, Charlton, at Wembley. What an achievement that is to reach the playoff final. Imagine if they'd actually got promoted. I'm not sure Orient would have been able to stay in the Championship, whereas I think Charlton will. I don't think Orient are going to match last season. I think they overachieved last season, to be honest, and I don't think anyone at the club would disagree with that. And I still think they're going to have a good season. I just don't think they're going to make the playoffs again. So I've put Leyton Orient in 9th. Now, Lincoln City, the next one, I think they've been fairly comfortable in League One for the last few seasons. I think they are too good to go down, but I just think the worry with Lincoln City is that they could potentially get too comfortable and find themselves pulled into a relegation battle. I've got them a few places above that drop zone. I don't think they'll be close really in terms of points. So I think I'm going to put Lincoln City 17th. So Lincoln to Luton Town, and this time last season they were being relegated from the Premier League, and they are being relegated from the Championship. As a few people pointed out on my channel earlier, a few weeks ago, Luton will still have the Premier League parachute payments coming in, and I think that's going to be the big difference between Luton and the rest. I said there isn't really a standout side, and I think the title race in League One is going to be a lot closer this season than it was last. Birmingham absolutely ran away with that, but I think Luton will win the League One title fairly comfortably. I think they will have a good few challenges with Huddersfield and one maybe two other teams, but I've got Luton top, and I think it'll be maybe 4 or 5 points clear of second. So Luton will win League One. And Mansfield Town. So Mansfield Town are my local side in this division. I saw them play Exeter at the end of last season. Both sides were safe. Mansfield won the game comfortably, but it was more of a party atmosphere, really. And I think Mansfield are going to be in for a very long season. I just think they've been overachieving, getting themselves up to League One. They stayed up relatively comfortably in 17th in the end. I can see them falling short in a very strong league. As they're local to me, I'd like to see them stay up again. And as I've said, I'm going to go through my predictions once again once we've had more of the transfer window. But for now, I've got Mansfield Town going down. I've got them in 23rd. And then we go to Northampton Town. I think Northampton were close to the relegation zone last season. They were 19th, one position above Burton. And I think it's going to be Northampton that head up the rest of the table. I think they've been in around the League One relegation battle for quite a while now. I think this is the season they drop down to League Two. They can probably bounce back from League Two, but I think this season, unless we see a good transfer window from them, I've got Northampton in 24th. So I've got Northampton bottom. We go from Northampton Town to Peterborough United. Peterborough had a dreadful season. They're usually bouncing between the Championship and League One. Last season they ended up 18th, which is awful, to be honest. I think a lot of improvements are needed by Peterborough, but I don't see where those improvements are coming from just now. I think they'll improve. I don't think they'll go back. I think they'll move forward. They're nowhere near Championship standard at the moment, so I've got Peterborough United in 16th. So Exeter's rivals, Plymouth Argyle, relegated from the Championship last season. They've been a bit of a yo-yo club, really. They've bounced between the Championship and League One. I think that pattern is going to continue. I think Plymouth, when they come down to League One, they tend to boss it. I think they are going to be strong. Unlucky to go down after a late surge towards the end of the season. That Championship relegation battle was incredible. And I think Plymouth are going to be Luton's closest contenders for the title. They've shown that they've got the finances to compete at this level. And whereas I think Huddersfield will be strong, I think Plymouth are going to finish runners-up. I've got Plymouth Argyle in second place and going straight back to the Championship with Luton. Another club I've got affection for is Port Vale, and the reason why I'm got an affection for Port Vale is when Hereford United were in danger of going bankrupt and did eventually go bankrupt. One of my friends took me to Vale Park, and during that time that I didn't have a club to support, I followed him to Vale Park, and that was in 2014. I've been back many times since. So Port Vale and Exeter are by far my two favourite clubs at this level. They struggled. Vale struggled last time they were in League One. With the standard again, they are going to struggle again, but I think Darren Moore has what it takes to keep them in the division. If they get off to a slow start, they could be in trouble. I just think Port Vale are too good to bounce straight back down. They don't want to become that yo-yo club like Plymouth with League One and League Two. I've got Port Vale finishing 18th, and then I think they'll probably build in the next couple of seasons. Yeah, Port Vale, they'll be involved with the relegation battle, but they won't go down. So then we move to Reading, and I think the takeover was finished last month, so I think that club's going to be buzzing. I've seen that there's potentially new investors coming in to Reading. So I think the future is looking very positive. When a couple of months ago it was daunting. They looked like they might even be expelled from the Football League. I think the place is going to be buzzing. I think they've got a strong squad. They showed that by finishing just outside the playoff places, despite what was going on at the club. I've got Reading finishing fourth, and they'll play Huddersfield in the playoff final. And while I've got Huddersfield going up, that could go either way. So I think it will be Reading or Huddersfield that win the playoffs. I've gone Huddersfield. We'll see again when the transfer window's done. So Reading fourth, and then Rotherham United. So it was their season back in League One last season, their first season back in League One. They finished in 13th place after a bit of a poor start. I can't really see much of an improvement from Rotherham, to be honest. I haven't really seen a lot of the goings on at the club, and I'm going to put them in 15th. So Stevenage, from looking at some of the bookies, I think Stevenage were tipped to struggle this season. They were 14th last season. I don't think they will struggle. I think they're a comfortable League One side, and I've got them in mid-table. They are looking like they're going to spend. So I've got Stevenage in 12th place. So I think another comfortable finish. So there's three teams left. We've got Stockport, Wigan, and Wickham. We have just one playoff place to give out, as I've given out the promotion and relegation. And we're going to go to Stockport County next. As I said, I'd do them in alphabetical order. Unlucky, I think, to lose in the playoffs. They were beaten by Leyton Orient in the playoffs on penalties. I think they're going to have a strong season again. I think Stockport County, everything about that club is going in the right direction. Another strong season. I think they're going to be beaten in the playoffs again. Where they're going to finish, based on my prediction, is they'd lose to Reading in the playoffs. I've got Stockport County in 5th place, which completes the playoffs. So we just know that Wigan and Wickham aren't going to go up or down, if I'm right. So we got Wigan Athletic next. Disappointing season, finishing 15th after winning the FA Cup and being in the Premier League in the last 15 years or so. Wigan have been disappointing, really. They're a bigger club than League One, I think, but it just doesn't look as though they're going to go anywhere. I think they're too good to go down. I don't think they're good enough to go up. So I've got Wigan Athletic in 14th, which leaves Wickham Wanderers, who lost in the playoffs. I don't think they'll keep up the same pace as they managed last season. They'll have a strong season again, but like Orient, I think they overachieved a little. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll finish just behind Cardiff. I've got Wickham in 8th. So let's recap the league table then. We've got Luton and Plymouth going up, with Luton champions. Huddersfield, Reading, Stockport, and Bolton in the playoffs, with Huddersfield winning the playoffs. But since I've been making this video, I've changed my mind. I actually think I'm going to go with Reading winning the playoffs. But if it happens, I'm going to take it either way, Huddersfield or Reading. Then we've got Cardiff, Wickham, and Leyton Orient just outside the playoffs. I think they potentially could get in. We've then got Blackpool, Barnsley, Stevenage, Bradford, and Wigan from 10th to 14th. We've got Rotherham 15th, Peterborough 16th, Lincoln City 17th, probably not in the relegation battle. Then we've got Port Vale, Exeter City, Doncaster Rovers in the relegation battle, but all staying up, with Wimbledon, Burton, Mansfield, and Northampton Town going to League Two. So that's my League One early prediction. Let me know yours in the comments. Tell me that I'm wrong, whatever you want to do. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel if you're enjoying this content so far. And I'm just about to record my League Two prediction, which I will be releasing on Saturday. Thanks for watching.